Okay, in class, we looked at the phosphate buffering system, which buffers the insides of cells. And now what we want to look at a little bit is the bicarbonate buffering system, which buffers our blood. And it's just a little bit more of a complex equilibrium in terms of how blood plasma is buffered because there's multiple molecules that come into play in multiple reactions. So the way we can look at this is dividing it into three different reactions. So the first one we'll look at is carbonic acid, H2CO3, which dissociates into bicarbonate, HCO3 minus and H plus. So we know it's an acid, it's giving up its proton. This molecule, the carbonic acid, comes from dissolved CO2. So if you dissolve CO2 in water, dissolved, it forms carbonic acid. So if you were to take a sample of water and just breathe into it, you could see a drop in pH. So we can write a second expression for that. So we can take carbon dioxide that has dissolved, and when it's in water then, it forms this carbonic acid that we just saw in the last equation. Now the next question is, where does this dissolved carbon dioxide come from? So the dissolved carbon dioxide comes from breathing. So we can write a third chemical equation where we have carbon dioxide that's dissolved in equilibrium with carbon dioxide in a gaseous form. So we could combine these all sort of into one expression or one big chemical reaction so that we can then look and see how as we change conditions of our breathing, then we can change the pH of our blood because the lungs have a large carbon dioxide storage capacity that we can change then by varying our breathing rate. So the main reaction then is H plus HCO3 minus in equilibrium with carbonic acid, in equilibrium with dissolved carbon dioxide, in equilibrium with gaseous carbon dioxide. So now we can look at a couple of cases to see what happens as we vary our breathing weight. So let's look, breathing weight, breathing rate. So let's look at case one where if you're exercising, and we know that exercise produces lactic acid. So what's important right now is that we're producing lactic acid, which means we're dropping our blood pH, which means we're increasing the amount of H plus that's floating around. And so if we're come over here to our H plus, if we are increasing the amount of H plus that we have, then according to Le Chatelier's principle, these series of reactions will shift to undo that increase in H plus. So that means the reaction will shift to the right towards the production of more carbon dioxide gas. So then we can take case two. So this one is case one. Now let's look at case two. In case two, it turns out that as we metabolize our nutrients, so as we're breaking down our food molecules, we're producing ammonia, which we know is a base. And so if we're producing ammonia, which is a base, that means we're increasing our blood pH. It means we're decreasing then the amount of H plus that we have. So now if we're decreasing the amount of H plus, here in case number two, then Le Chatelier's principle says we need to replenish that amount of H plus. So that means our equilibrium will shift to the left. So as we change then the amount of carbon dioxide gas that we have, so for example by hyperventilating or hypoventilating and controlling how much of this we have, we can then control what our blood pH is. So you can think about controlling how much, for example, of a lactic acid burn you get when you're running by changing your breathing patterns before you run and compensating for that change in pH that's going to happen.